If we were to describe a knife's sharpness as cutting through bone like mud and every stroke giving you a feeling of silky smoothness, then its material and forging technique must be top-notch. If you're fortunate enough to witness someone using such a long knife, they are at least a master in their own right. Such a long knife comes from a blacksmith shop in Kinmen, Taiwan. According to the shop owner, the material for such a long knife must be carefully selected artillery shells to forge it perfectly. We all know that artillery steel belongs to military-grade materials, and its components are meticulously selected before use. Today, look at how this artillery steel gradually transforms into a razor-sharp treasure. The master grinds off the excess edges on a cutting machine, then heats the artillery shell directly in a coal-fired furnace. Once heated, the artillery shell is hammered on an air hammer to elongate it and remove impurities. Each hammer blow adds toughness to the steel. To facilitate forging, the master welds an iron rod to the knife's handle. After reheating it several times until the steel plate turns red hot, it's hammered again on the air hammer. The purpose of multiple hammer blows is to refine the steel, extracting its essence and leaving behind impurities to perfect the properties of the treasure knife. With each movement of the master, coupled with every hammer blow of the air hammer, the prototype of the treasure knife takes shape gradually. The master then heats it again in the furnace, aiming for a smoother blade and tip production. As the air hammer strikes, more impurities are forced out of the steel plate, and the blade becomes thinner. At this point, every action of the master or every blow of the hammer directly determines the quality of the knife. Hence, extreme caution is necessary. Only the tip of the blade needs to be heated this time. The next step is the minor processing of the end. After heating the lead, the master uses a pair of shears to trim any excess material and then repairs the rough edges with a small hammer. By now, the blade has been fully forged but requires precise polishing. After reheating it, the master positions it precisely with a small hammer. Using his eyes as a gauge and his hands as units, the master calculates the dimensions of the treasure knife. With the final blow of the hammer, the blade is perfectly finished. The next step is making the handle. Making the handle is relatively simple. Cut a triangle at the handle position and directly forge it into a cone shape after heating. Now comes the most crucial step: sharpen. This step extensively tests the craftsman's strength, as any slight mistake could render the treasure knife useless. Only now can the actual skill of the craftsman be demonstrated. After polishing it satisfactorily, the master heats the treasure knife in the furnace and quickly immerses it in quenching oil. This step determines the treasure knife's hardness, strength, and mechanical properties. After quenching, we can see the black and white colors on the blade, indicating that the edge has been initially opened. After over half an hour of polishing, the treasure knife shines like a mirror, with the oxide layer on the surface completely gone. Next, the master applies glue to the handle, and with the completion of this step, the forging of the treasure knife is nearly complete. After applying the bond, the wooden handle is installed, followed by more refined water grinding to process the blade edge. Jade requires carving to become an artifact, and a knife requires polishing to become sharp. This is also the production standard of Kinmen long knives. Finally, the last step involves using a grinding wheel for polishing, making the overall metal luster of the long knife even more dazzling. With this, the forging of the treasure knife is complete. What do you think of the old blacksmith's craftsmanship? Feel free to leave your honest evaluation.